Yemen. Say that word out loud, and most people flinch. War, danger, a place to scroll past. Now picture this instead. A woman climbing a tower made of nothing but mud, straw, and water. No steel. No concrete, no elevator. Just 500 years of hands doing this exact same climb before her. And she's doing it today, right now, while the rest of the world assumes there's nothing left here worth climbing toward. That contradiction is the whole reason we're here, because everything you think you know about Yemen was built from headlines, and headlines only ever tell you half of anything. Underneath them is a civilization pushing 3,000 years old. Cities that were already ancient when empires we studied in school hadn't been born yet. Villages stacked onto cliffs like the mountain issued a dare. An island scientists genuinely struggle to classify because nothing on it plays by Earth's normal rules. And millions of people who get up every morning and simply refuse to let this place become only a warning label. This is Yemen, and by the end of this journey, you won't see it the way you did 5 minutes ago. If you're ready for this one, and I mean really ready, because this is one of the most surprising places we've ever covered. Drop a comment and tell me where in the world you're watching this from. Hit the like button. And if you want to keep discovering places the world completely misunderstands, subscribe to Vast Earth and turn on notifications, because what's coming in this series is going to surprise you even more. Let's go in. Start with the map, and Yemen's importance jumps out immediately. The country spans roughly 204,000 square miles at the tip of the Arabian Peninsula, hemmed in by the Red Sea to the west and the Gulf of Aden and Arabian Sea to the south, nearly 1,200 miles of coastline in total, curling around a stretch of water where Africa, Asia, and the Arabian Peninsula all lean in and nearly touch. And squeezed into that coastline is a passage most people couldn't point to on a map, even though it quietly moves the global economy. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait narrows to about 18 miles across at its tightest point. Somewhere between 10 and 12% of everything shipped by sea worldwide funnels through that gap. Every single year, oil, cargo, goods headed for 3 different continents, squeezed through a channel you could practically kayak across on a calm day. For 3,000 years, that single fact made Yemen unavoidable. Anyone trading between continents had to come through its front door, whether they wanted to or not. The extremes don't stop at the coastline either. Down by the sea, temperatures shove past 104 degrees Fahrenheit, heavy and inescapable. Drive a few hours inland and climb into the highlands, and that same country drops below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the sun goes down cold enough that you can watch your breath fall. One country holding 2 completely different climates a few hours apart. Somewhere in the space between them, people figured out how to survive both. That's the land we're walking into. At nearly 7,400 feet up, there's a city that has never once gone quiet, no matter how hard the world tried to silence it. Sana'a. Its roots run past 2,500 years, making it one of the oldest continuously lived-in cities on The planet and its altitude makes it one of the highest capitals anywhere on Earth. Built not down in a valley, but practically on top of the sky. Step into the old quarter and the ordinary rules of architecture stop applying. Towers made of mud, water, and time rise 5, 6, sometimes 9 stories tall. No steel frame, no concrete, it just packed earth shaped by hands centuries ago, and families are still living inside them exactly as their ancestors did. Over 100 mosques stand inside these walls. Public bathhouses, still in daily use, operate almost unchanged from generations back. Thousands of presentable houses, each decorated with the same white gypsum patterns that have marked Sana'a for hundreds of years. Crowd together along alleys, so narrow, 2 people have to turn sideways to pass. War has left its mark here too. Buildings that survived centuries have come down in seconds. But walk through Sana'a today, and despair isn't what you find. You find people on their knees, mixing mud and straw with their bare hands, rebuilding the exact walls their great-grandfathers first raised, refusing, stone by stone, to let 3,000 years end on their watch. If a city could have a pulse, Sana'a's has never once flatlined. At the center of Old Sana'a sits a marketplace that hasn't paused in over 1,000 years. They call it Souk Al Milh, the salt market named for the trade that once made this city rich. Step inside, and it's obvious why people still can't stay away. The lanes twist into a maze, dozens of them, each stall stacked high with spices, sun-dried coffee, dark honey, and frankincense. The smell reaches you before your eyes. Adjust cinnamon, cardamom, smoke tangled together with the sound of buyers and sellers haggling the exact same way their grandparents once did, standing in this exact spot. Look closer and you'll catch silversmiths, hammering jewelry by hand, the same techniques passed down for generations. A few stalls over, a craftsman leans over a curved blade, the jambia, a dagger nearly every Yemeni man carries as tradition, engraving it in full view of anyone who wanders past. None of it is staged for the cameras. This isn't a recreation of history. It is history, still open, still running, still doing business every morning, regardless of what's happening past its walls. For the people who live here, walking into this market isn't nostalgia, it's just Tuesday. Here's a connection. Almost nobody makes a word you've probably said 100 times without knowing its origin, Mocha. That name comes from one harbor on Yemen's western coast, Mocha. For close to 3 centuries, starting around the 1400s. This small port was the single most important coffee exporting hub on Earth. Nearly every bean of Arabica that reached the Middle East, then Europe, then eventually everywhere else, started its journey right there. The coffee itself hasn't changed much either. It still grows on steep mountain terraces, roughly 4,900 to 8,000 feet up, where the soil is rocky, the air is dry, and nothing about the process has ever been mechanized. No machinery picks these beans. No irrigation feeds these trees, just rainfall, mountain mist, and generations of hands doing the same terrace by terrace work their ancestors did. After harvest, beans dry in the sun before being roasted using methods that have barely shifted over time. Experts still rank Yemeni coffee among the oldest and rarest. Arabica strains left in existence, a living relic of the drink that later fueled empires, revolutions, and quiet mornings in nearly every country on Earth. So the next time someone orders a Mocha without a second thought, they're unknowingly tasting a sliver of Yemen's history. Coffee isn't even the most prized export coming down these mountains. When the cedar trees bloom across Yemen's dry slopes, thousands of beekeepers kick off their single most important harvest of the year, one that yields what many rank among the purest, most valuable honey anywhere on the planet. This is cedar honey, and it comes almost entirely from remote pockets like Hadramaut and Wadi Doan, where bee colonies thrive largely, untouched by the outside world. Some hives are still built the traditional way and wedged directly into cliff sides, in spots that look nearly impossible to reach. Beekeepers chase the blossoms across the seasons, moving hives from valley to valley, a craft handed down, father to son, with no manual required, just repetition and memory. The honey itself is deep, amber, thick, and heavily aromatic, with a sweetness that lingers well past the first taste. For Yemenis, it's never just food. It's reserved for weddings, for the birth of a child, for the moments a family will remember longest. In a country the world only connects to conflict, here's a tradition built entirely on patience and celebration, quietly continuing on cliffs most people will never lay eyes on. You wouldn't expect green in a land this dry, and yet scattered across Yemen's harshest terrain are valleys that have kept entire communities alive for thousands of years. Wadi, Hadramaut, and Wadi Doan are the most dramatic examples, deep canyons where underground springs and seasonal streams carved out an accidental paradise. Date palm forests stretch beneath sheer stone cliffs, their green canopies rising almost like an illusion against sand and rock. Farmers here grow wheat, sorghum, millet, and fruit trees, feeding whole villages from land that turns hostile the instant you step past the valley's edge. Irrigation channels carved centuries ago still route every drop of water exactly where it's needed, with nothing wasted. Mud brick villages rise straight out of these green corridors, walls colored the same as the desert surrounding them. A landscape that looks almost painted, impossible green against impossible sand. For thousands of years, these oases weren't scenery, they were survival, the only stopover for caravans crossing the old incense routes, offering water and shelter before travelers pushed back into terrain that could kill them. Even now, these valleys prove something simple. However harsh the land gets, people will always find a way to make it bloom. After a day working those fields or moving along for those ancient trade routes, one thing always waited at the end of it: food shaped by centuries of trade between the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Salter leads the list, widely regarded as Yemen's national dish, a stew still bubbling under a foam of fenugreek when it hits the table. Mandi follows close behind, lamb or chicken, slow-cooked with fragrant rice until the meat falls apart without effort. Then there's faza, beef simmered for hours in a faza, stone pot, and served still steaming. alongside flatbread pulled straight from clay ovens, fired to hundreds of degrees. Cumin, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, turmeric. These aren't garnish here, they're the structure nearly every dish is built on, carrying flavors that traveled the old spice routes for centuries before settling into Yemeni kitchens for good. But the detail isn't the food itself, it's how it's eaten. Everyone gathers around one shared platter, eating by hand, the exact same way their grandparents did, and their grandparents before that. In a place defined by hardship, this is where Yemenis find something the world rarely looks for. A table where, for one meal, everything else fades out. High in Yemen's mountains, where clouds settle over the rock like a permanent ceiling, there are villages that seem to argue with the very idea of what's buildable. This is the Jabal Haraz, where whole communities sit between 6,000 and 600 and roughly 9,800 feet high, enough that clouds don't pass over these villages, they pass straight through them. Flat ground simply doesn't exist at that altitude. So generations back, people carved their own answer into the mountainside, stone terraces stacked one above the next, pinning soil and water in place, against gravity itself. Coffee, wheat, and sorghum still grow on those terraces today, crops suited to thin air and unforgiving slopes. By day, sunlight bakes the old stone walls warm to the touch. By night, especially in winter, temperatures drop close to freezing, and the same families who work the fields under a blazing sun huddle together against the cold. These aren't just villages. They're proof that no mountain, no matter how steep or thin the air, was ever going to stop people from building exactly where they chose to. Above the clouds, life keeps going, quietly, stubbornly. Most people picture Yemen as pure sand and heat, then drive through the Sarawat Mountains and that picture falls apart completely. Green highlands stretch for miles here, deep valleys cut between slopes, wrapped in terraced fields. Coastal mist drifts in and settles over peaks most of the world doesn't know exist. Several of these mountains climb past 9,800 feet, and one Jabal and Nabi Shuaib reaches just over 12,000 feet, making it the highest point anywhere on the Arabian Peninsula. Seasonal rain and mountain fog created something almost nobody expects to find here, a thriving, high-altitude ecosystem, home to plant life that doesn't grow anywhere nearby. Thousands of years ago, Yemenis looked at these slopes and didn't retreat from them. They built directly into the terrain, carving stone villages into the rock and terracing every workable inch to survive, where most civilizations would have simply turned around. Today, the Sarawat Mountain remains one of the least touched, least expected landscapes on Earth, a place where ancient stone architecture, wild terrain, and human stubbornness coexisting, quietly, wrapped in clouds almost nobody sees in person. But the strangest place in all of Yemen isn't on the mainland at all. It's hundreds of miles out to sea, and what's waiting there changes how you think about this entire country. About 220 miles off Yemen's coast, out in the open Arabian Sea, sits a place that makes visitors feel like they've stepped onto a different planet. This is Socotra, one of the most isolated, most singular islands on Earth, shaped by millions of years of evolution running, almost entirely without outside interference. Covering roughly 1,400 square miles, it's the largest island in an archipelago wedged between Yemen and the Horn of Africa, cut off from the mainland long enough that nature here simply wrote its own rulebook. Because of that isolation, close to 37% of Socotra's plant species exist nowhere else on the planet. Not in any other country, not on any other continent. The island turned into a natural laboratory, quietly evolving on its own timeline while the rest of the world moved on without it. Its the recognizable resident is the dragon blood tree, an umbrella-shaped giant capable of standing for hundreds of years, its canopy spreading wide like something borrowed from another world. Cut into its bark, and it bleeds a deep red resin one locals have used for generations as medicine, dye, and material. Beyond the trees, Socotra hides limestone mountain ranges, unmapped caves, and beaches, so, untouched, they barely look real. For centuries, the people here have adapted to one of the most demanding environments anywhere, stretching scarce water and whatever the island provides. That balance is fragile. Now climate change and outside development creeping onto an island that outlasted almost everything else. For the moment, though, Socotra remains one of the last places on Earth where time genuinely seems to have stopped moving. And there's one small town on this same island that captures that feeling better than anywhere else. On Socotra's remote coast sits Kalansia, the island's second-largest settlement, and still home to only a few thousand people. No crowded streets, no noise, just the slow, unbothered rhythm of a fishing village that has barely shifted in generations. The centerpiece is Detwa Lagoon, a wide stretch of shimmering water framed by white sand, coral reefs, and limestone cliffs, calm enough that it feels like a secret the rest of the world was never supposed to find. At sunrise, light spreads slowly across the surface and turns the whole scene gold. At sunset, it happens all over again, like the island wants to make sure you didn't miss it the first time. The lagoon isn't just scenery, it's alive. Seabirds nest along its edges. Coastal creatures move through the shallows, and the people of Kalansia live right alongside all of it, relying on fishing, herding goats, and small-scale farming, exactly as their families have for generations. No high-rises, no modern boulevards, just simple homes, wooden boats resting on the shore, and a life built on closeness to each other and to the land and water around them. For a lot of people who make it this far, Kalansia isn't just another stop on the way to somewhere else. It's the moment they finally understand what a life without rushing actually feels like. And it's a version of Yemen most of the world will never connect to the headlines they're used to. The world has learned to define Yemen by crisis, but spend enough time here and the different picture emerges: millions of people who wake up every day and simply keep living. In the old cities, markets open every morning exactly as they have for 1,000 years. Craftsmen still bend over silver and leather, handing the skill down to sons who pass it to their own sons someday. Families still gather around one shared platter at the end of the day, the same way generations before them did. In the countryside, farmers still climb the same terraces their ancestors carved by hand. Fishermen still push boats out onto the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden before sunrise, exactly the way their fathers did. And their fathers before them. Kids still walk to school, weddings still happen, honey still sweetens the celebration, and old customs still pass quietly from one generation to the next, refusing to be forgotten, no matter what else is happening past the village walls. This is the side of Yemen that never makes the news, not because it isn't real, but because resilience doesn't generate headlines the way conflict does. And yet, it's playing out in nearly every corner of this country every single day. Life here was never only about survival. It's about something much harder to erase, identity, and the refusal to let it go. Somewhere in Sana'a right now, someone is climbing those same mud brick stairs that once 500 years of hands built before her. She has no idea we opened this whole video standing at the bottom of them. She's just getting home. That's the part the headlines never quite capture. Yemen was never waiting around for the rest of the world to notice it. It wasn't paused, holding its breath for outsiders to catch up. It was drying honey in cliffside hives, terracing coffee into mountainsides, mixing mud and straw by hand the whole time, whether anyone was watching or not. So next time Yemen shows up in a headline, you'll picture something different, not just a warning label. A woman on a staircase older than most countries, a market that's been haggling over spice prices since before your country existed, an island that looks like it belongs to a different planet 3,000 years in and still refusing to end. If this journey opened your eyes to a side of Yemen you never knew existed, let me know in the comments which moment surprised you the most. And if you want to keep finding the places the news flattens into a single word, subscribe to Vast Earth, because the next place we uncover might change everything you thought you knew about it too.